Welcome to our business show on Uxbridge FM. Our guest today is Joe Gallagher from Advanced UK here in Uxbridge. Hi, Joe.
Good afternoon, Steve.
Now, for anyone who's not heard of Advanced UK, give us the basics. What do Advanced UK do and where are you based?
Well, we're based literally as the crow flies, probably about 500 yards from here, just on the Rockingham Road at the moment. Been in Uxbridge since 1991. Xerox's first business partner across Europe. We employ about 35 employees, 1,100 customers, of which 500 are less than 25 employees. So predominantly the business grew up looking after the small to medium-sized business. And we're a document, technology, solutions and services provider.
And I've been to the Innovation Centre recently, and that was quite an amazing place. There's printing machines the size of a room, costing up to £500,000, I guess.
Well,
or more.
maybe more sometimes.
And that's reopening, isn't it? It's moved across the road, the Innovation Centre.
That's correct, yes. So there's been Xerox have relocated their main UK headquarters and the Innovation Centre, which is going into the business park, literally Uxbridge Business Park, which is just off behind the... What's the road coming in? Just before you get to the high street, you turn left.
Yeah,
Sanderson's, that's it. Yes, it's the old Sanderson's building.
Yeah. So the big question is, from me, I suppose, the paperless office, is that going to ever exist in the future?
Well, I think there will be examples where you might have certain parts of the office and the business process which predominantly are paperless. I think the way that we're finding it's more helping people use less paper as opposed to being completely paperless.
Yeah. And printers, scanners, and obviously the big thing now is apps, isn't it, that goes along with that. You're telling me about how you have clever ways of diagnosing faults. So you're not sending an engineer out every time. You maybe can dial into their printer and see, it's got error code 41, and we'll go and that must be a print jam or a run out of toner.
Yeah, interesting you said error code 41 because in 2019 we managed across the business, we had 2,775 calls into the help desk and 41% of those were resolved remotely in less than 10 minutes.
So in the past, that would have been what? An engineer going out to site?
Yes, correct, yeah.
So really saving on the environment just as a starting point, let alone engineers.
Absolutely. And then you've got the customer experience. A lot of our clients work around the clock 24/7. The traditional service model is Monday to Friday, 9 to 5. So it means if you've got a Friday afternoon problem and we fix it on Friday afternoon, the customer is fully operational over the weekend period.
That's a great thing, isn't it? So obviously lots of things in the industry that have changed. GDPR, obviously printers used to store on their hard disk, didn't they?
Yes.
Personal details. You can't do that anymore. Lots of things regarding security. Tell us how Advanced UK can get around those sorts of things.
Well, from a security point of view, you've got the obvious one, which is the physical technology. So all of the technology has a very advanced Cisco McAfee embedded within the technology, which basically stops the threat from outside. In the same way organizations protect their networks, their server infrastructure, their mobiles. Effectively, the Xerox technology enables the same level of secure protection. And then you've got the other things which we help companies in the office where they're just printing. The normal, I call it print and sprint. So you go file print and then you run to the printer to recover your document, which may have personal information or highly confidential. We can now do that under a secure print facility, which means you release the document when you're standing there, which means there's no risk to anybody that information or paper getting into the wrong hands. So there's just a couple of examples.
Maybe you're printing your CV out or something.
Yes.
I don't know. But that, I suppose the way we work has changed, hasn't it, over the past few years. We tend to work perhaps in more serviced office environments, open plan environments where it is important to have security in these things. The WeWork environment where you're going into London, maybe open plan, you want to print something out, you can't be leaving personal details, can you, in the printer or whatever? So these phone apps would be great.
Absolutely, and of course the devices have got image overwrites in there. So as soon as the job is printed, the administrator, basically you wipe that image. It can be done straight away, every 4 hours, every 24 hours. So if anybody did get through the firewall and access the hard drive, they're looking at nothing.
And I saw a couple of apps that were really impressive. Translation.
Yeah.
So you scan a document and it then translates it in the printer.
Yes. So one could say it's magic, but I know it's not. It's not magic. It's using AI. It's using a cloud service, and there's 3 levels. You can do the standard, which will translate in over 50 languages in less than 1 minute. If you want, and that's about 85% accuracy, so great for information sharing. If you want the next level at 95%, it's a 3 to 4 hour turnaround. And if you want 100% accuracy, it's using a human being in the cloud, and that's a 2 to 3 day turnaround. And you can not just use paper, you can use it purely electronic. You don't have to scan the documents to take advantage of that.
That's really interesting, isn't it? For someone in an environment where an example might be, I don't know, restaurant menu or whatever, or police, they're questioning a suspect, or as you were saying earlier on about building sites and health and safety information you want to translate into different Eastern European, perhaps, languages.
Yeah.
Very, very useful facility.
Yeah, we're seeing across, and I think be fair to say, if you're a large corporate with doing a lot of translation, you may have a translation services provider. If you're a small business and periodically go in and want translation services, you've got a long turnaround time and a high cost for the service. So having something that's available in real time, I can think of examples for us where we have clients where we manage the service across Europe, and sometimes we're not totally in tune with their language, their native language. So they will send us an email in Italian, and we will translate it into English. We'll then write the email back in English, translate it back to Italian, and then send it back to them. The challenge with that is they then think that you speak Italian, and then the email goes from 1 paragraph to 4 or 5. But it's not a problem for the technology.
In the previous years, it would have turned into some kind of Jinglish, and all got lost in translation, probably. The other one that was quite impressive was the redaction technologies. Basically, you could scan or copy a document that had personal details like dates of birth, addresses, and the printer would intelligently redact personal information. I don't know how it even does that, but that sounds very clever.
Yes, so it's using AI in the background. The custom fields are preset. So if you set passport number, it will know the sequential letters and things to look for, or national insurance number. If you mark the word confidential, then there's certain areas and parameters that you can set. So there's some standard ones, and then as a customer, you could actually set your own custom fields dependent on your documents. Yeah. But the beauty to me, that technology was available a few years ago, but you would have invested a lot of money up front to take advantage. This is now an app, and by default, it's a pay-as-you-go style service. So as and when you choose to redact, you pay for the service. You don't have to invest thousands and thousands of pounds up front.
And the other thing that you were saying about, it's just come out recently, companies that want to be green and environmentally friendly. There's an app that plants trees depending on how many pages you print. That sounds impressive.
Yeah, so it's not our app, but we've found an opportunity to utilise a piece of software which basically tracks people's printer usage. And the motto is, you print, we measure, and we plant 100% of the paper that you use in the office. So you get a certificate, so absolutely you can use it for your own environmental drivers. And when you're talking to potential customers, you can actually talk about what you do with reference to printed paper.
Wow, that is a thing to put on your website, isn't it? A little badge, print relief, it's called. And then other stuff that we could talk about. We'll show the Advanced UK website, because that's advanced-uk.com. There's the translate and print, a little video about that with a guy in a restaurant. Do you want to watch that, shall we? Why not?
Here is a menu for you.
He's obviously got allergies.
Things you can't afford to lose in translation.
Keine Ahnung, Witz. Allergia. Shoes.
Shoes?
But what if you're just not communicating?
Muitos scarpini.
He's Italian, I guess, is he?
I think it's Romanian.
Oh, Romanian, right, yes. That's an example where the restaurant would then scan the menu into his language.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And other examples on the website of services you provide?
Yes, you can see there's a big focus on the managed print and document services. Effectively, what we're finding there is that we're doing more remote management. So we're relieving the business stakeholders, certainly around IT, around the level of involvement they have to have. And we've got other services which are linked with sort of document management, records management, and then all the sort of automation and efficiency drivers behind that.
So rather than just scanning into a USB stick or onto the general drive in the company, you're intelligently thinking, right, where's that document got to end up?
Yeah.
And making intelligent choices from there.
Yeah, so the devices, we used to call them multifunctional devices, which could copy, print, fax and scan.
Yeah.
They're now smart. So in the same way when we're at home, we subscribe to, through our smart TV, maybe into something like Netflix. Through the Xerox platform, there's an ecosystem giving you access to numerous amounts of business apps. So for the small business, there's apps for cloud storage. It could be integrating with things like QuickBooks, to make tax digital. So we've got a piece of paper and you want to digitize it. Instead of just scanning it to email, then going through the process of pushing it into the back-end system, the idea is you do everything at the point of scanning. And we know the industry-known fact is that the devices are only utilised 7% of the time for the prime functions of print, copy, fax, and just scan to email. So you've got 93% opportunity to use. Effectively, it's a tablet on a device, which in theory becomes an extended workstation for you.
Yeah. So we've got to come up with some new innovative ideas that printers and scanners can also do in the office. I wonder what we could come up with next.
Well, not quite there with making tea or coffee.
No, maybe though, one day.
But we're in an environment where we're in audio, so there is another app which is, turning text into audio to an MP4 file. So we're seeing uses for that where people don't necessarily, they want to read or don't want to read something, but they want it in an audio format, maybe in the car. There's opportunities in education where you've got special needs children, or there could be some dyslexia. So all of these apps can basically help people for various business challenges.
So how do you work? You're the director of sales at Advanced. You would go out and see a customer and say, right, this is your problem. We can solve it this way.
Yeah, so we work on there's 5 key areas. You can't run away from the fact people want to focus on things like cost efficiency at the moment.
Yeah.
So that has to be a major consideration. We've touched on the environment. There's the security aspect.
Yeah.
And that's not just, that's the whole thing from the technology right the way through to paper and documents in the office, cyber, cloud, GDPR. We've got the whole innovation piece. And ultimately then we come into that sort of service delivery and making the customer experience as enjoyable as possible.
You aren't just selling them a £5,000 printer, you're supporting them for years to come with their service and backup and apps and whatever.
Yeah, so typically our clients stay with us in excess of 10 years. So I always compare that's like 3 terms of a contract. So, we're in a highly competitive industry, which would say we've got a great client tenure because we don't just provide the solution and come back and see them in 3 years' time. It's a high touch point consultative service.
Any examples of clients that you can deal with?
So probably if we're looking at clients, we could, we've got Ari based just locally to us here. We've got clients in construction, Crest Nicholson. We manage CBRE, their facilities and everything through Europe in that example. We have airport services provider called Swissport, a pharmaceutical company in Slough called Ipsen. And I suppose in the legal sector, the one that we love to mention is the Supreme Court.
So that's pretty important to have secure print management there, isn't it, I think?
Yeah, and we're going through the process of we've introduced new technology with apps, and we're now on the journey there to sort of take them to the next stage on their digital transformation journey.
Because that really is an industry where you see the lawyers turning up with trolleys of folders and documents, isn't it? That's definitely one that's ripe for change into digital document management, surely. Absolutely.
Of course, the other bit within the legal sector is the mobility, because the lawyers are in the chambers or they're in the physical courts, and they need access to information. And the traditional way is to have the runner with the trolley with 5 boxes of paper. I mean, how secure is that, walking across a main road in London with 5 years of work and preparation about a case?
Gust of wind and suddenly whoosh.
Yeah, and then you're getting into if that information is available on a tablet, dare I say, it means that you can reduce the time of the hearing, because instead of adjourning for 3 days, it can be adjourned for 30 minutes over lunch.
Yeah. Well, there we go. You've definitely learnt a lot today, and there was me thinking that paperless office would put you out of business, but obviously there's lots of exciting innovation to come still. Joe, thank you so much for popping in today, telling us all about Advanced UK.
Thank you very much for the opportunity.
And perhaps come in again in a few years' time and more apps that do clever things. You never know.
Well, I always think with the apps, the limitation is your imagination. Yeah. We are an app developer, and we can, if a client has a system they'd like us to integrate with, we can actually write that integration for them.
All right. See you again soon. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Cheers.